Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Sarita. We have a pause in our regular broadcasting to give you a Christmas in July special. So I don't know how Christmas in July began as an American tradition, but I have been using July on this channel to talk about some of our Christmas or holiday candles that were released by various different companies in the holiday season. And we all said, this doesn't smell like the holiday season. I would be happy with this candle in like early spring or blah, 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 fill in the blank, right? But then we never really revisit and talk about those unseasonal holiday offerings that could have been burned allegedly at another time. I thought that July was the great month to do that. So we did this last year. We had 3 candles. One was Homeworks, one was Yankee, one was Kringle. This year I have a Kringle and a Yankee, and I was hoping for a Homeworks one because usually they drop the TSV, you know, at QVC, the Christmas in July, some new holiday candles, and I like to present one of them, you know, during the month of July. Unfortunately, the QVC on Sunday, it was on Sunday, I was really underwhelmed by it. There was nothing that really stood out to me as a really juicy candle. And part of that was that the brand ambassadors either didn't get them in time or were given strict instructions not to talk about them until the very last day. And I just feel as though last year, like I remember Philly Candleman had like 3 or 4 of them. And it was so good because then he could kind of smell them all, give his thoughts. And I ended up picking up one last year and it was a gorgeous fragrance. It just like had no strength and throw per Homeworks. But anyway, this year, like the brand ambassadors only got one, and it was just kind of hard to tell if there were any real standouts in the collection. And it was difficult for them to say whether there were standouts. So Homeworks, if you're watching, please give the brand ambassadors like a majority of them or half of them or whatever else, because I am far less inclined to purchase if I haven't heard some people talk about them. Did you guys buy the TSV? I don't know. It didn't seem, there was nothing in there that I thought, oh my gosh, I need to have this like in 5 days. I need it to be in my house. It was just kind of like you know, if it's the holiday season and I see it around, I might want to smell that one. It was kind of that vibe. So anyway, maybe I'll go back into my Homework stash and see if there's a holiday-ish candle that I can bring forward for July. Anyway, today we're going to talk about a candle from Kringle that is called Frosty Branches. Looks like this, and it had this lovely like sage green color. As you can see, I got this from Marshall or TJ Maxx for $7.99, and I actually got several of them because I had this in the daylight when it came out. This was in the last wave of paraffin candles before they redid the entire country fleet in 100% soy. And this was one of their new holiday candles for that year, and it didn't get very good buzz, and it was partly because it was just not a seasonal candle despite the marketing. Anyway, they clearanced out all their paraffins, took them to TJ Maxx and Marshalls. I had a daylight in this and I loved it so much that I thought this was like my next new thing. It was brilliant. And so when I saw them at TJ Maxx and Marshalls, I think I have like 3 or 4 of them. When I burned it, I didn't love it as much. I just didn't. And so this is kind of a disappointment in some respects. This is not currently available in any form. It has not been reformulated for 100% soy, and I kind of suspect it won't, just because it really is misbranded, mismarketed. It is only available on the Kringle website in wax melt. So it's still available, Frosty Branches in wax melts, if you're at all curious, or if you are doing a Kringle order, maybe think about it. It's probably on sale, and it is nice enough. So when this was released, everybody was like, this smells like spring. It doesn't smell like winter. And you're totally correct. This is almost green vine-like. It's got kind of a fruity floral aspect to it. A ton of green, but not necessarily like a winter spruce pine kind of green. So here's the notes, and it'll immediately tell you why you're getting that vibe. Top notes are bergamot, green, adjective, generic, grapefruit, and galbanum. Galbanum is like like a resin secretion from like a plant, a specific plant. It does lean kind of herbal and bitter and musky and sprucey. Yeah, I suspect there's a lot of galbanum in here. Mid notes, floral and green. And yes, you're seeing green twice there. Base notes, peach, cedarwood, orange blossom, and moss. So you've got a lot of, you've got a floral note generic, and then you have orange blossom as well. And then you've got fruits. You've got grapefruit, you've got peach, and who knows what that orange blossom note might be like as well. Then you have some green, oh, you've got bergamot in there too. Then you have some green notes generic, who knows what those are, and some moss and some cedarwood. So the deepest notes here that would be a little bit cool weather are cedarwood and moss. I don't know if I'm getting a ton of either of those, but there is a very green aspect to this candle. The problem is it's not, the branding is like frosty, right? So you would expect something a little bit cool. You would expect something very spruce balsam forward. It's really not. That said, you do get kind of an undercurrent of something that smells vaguely like spruce or pine. That's the austere note here underneath it all and very present. That said, the galbanum can come across that way a little bit. So it could just be galbanum. If there is a spruce or balsam or fir inclusion here, I would not be surprised, but it is smothered with all kinds of other things. And originally I thought that it was mainly botanical notes, like a green vine. And this has a very vibrant, almost vegetal vine aspect to it, which does, this is why everybody was saying it does smell more spring-like, right? But then there is like a floral aspect to this, a fruity floral. The fruit here is, it's mixed in with the floral. So like I said, it's kind of a fruity floral, and there is a perfumey quality to it. And this is the part that I didn't like, because once I burned it, it got significantly more perfumey, significantly. So even though it's not listed here, I think there is a huge amount of amber. And if it does have a lot of galbanum in it, galbanum can go musky too. So that you've got kind of like, and who knows, maybe that moss cedarwood note is also a little bit musky if they're more like fantasy accords. So you've got, when I burned it, it was a heavy amount of amber, musk, and then bergamot. And the bergamot here is just a perfume oil. Like it's not a fresh, bright, authentic citrus fruit. So the profile for a perfume / cologne is there, and it was very perfumey. And the perfumey nature of it took away, I think, from the botanical freshness and authenticity. It just kind of became a perfume conceptual with very heavy green overtones and maybe like a spruce or fir kind of note, which, don't get me wrong, is nice and a little unexpected for you to have a perfume conceptual with kind of a balsam note on the bottom. I do think that this is more perfumey than it is cologne-y, because while there is an amber note, I think the amber note sits higher up and it's not a basey candle. It's really in the mid to like lower high rate region with the fruity floral and the high, it's like a white amber, like it's way up high, you know? And the green notes are solidly mid-range. You do have kind of an undernote of the spruce, but the spruce is still hanging up kind of in the mid-range. So it's really a mid to high range perfume conceptual with some green overtones. I don't really need a perfume conceptual. And for me, it was okay. And to some extent, like I said, it was a little unexpected for a perfume conceptual, but it wasn't, unfortunately, especially once burned, it just wasn't fresh. It wasn't bright. It just didn't get under your skin the way that you really wanted it to. And so to be honest, I wouldn't repurchase it, but now I have like 3 of them. So there you go. I think they may be gifts. It's fine. It's really a decent candle. No, you should not burn this in the holiday season. I wouldn't even burn it in the fall season, to be perfectly honest. It's just got too many, with the like peach and the grapefruit, it's got too many like fruity floral aspects, not even to mention the vegetal green vine note, which makes it solidly, I would say, early spring. You could get away with this in spring too, and obviously I burned it here in early summer. So it's definitely not, it's not a cool candle. It's just not. Yeah, so that's what we've got, Frosty Branches. Like I said, not a bad candle. It just was obviously mismarketed because there's nothing frosty about these branches. With a new marketing, with a new direction, you would have actually a really nice candle. Actually, this would have been a great candle to come out in the spring season. Kringle has been struggling lately with the last couple years in terms of their conceptuals in the spring. And this would be a fantastic spring conceptual, early spring conceptual, no question. Just needs another like vision in terms of what we should be invoking psychologically when we're burning this candle. And if it was in the spring, I think it would have been certainly far more successful than it was, but perhaps even successful full stop. Let's talk about performance. Performance was very decent. This was actually one of those daylights that was a little more weak than I wanted it to be. This was the last wave of the 100% paraffins. And for about a year before they discontinued the paraffins, I noticed that the paraffin contributions were starting to get weaker and weaker. And some people have conjectured that that was kind of a conspiracy to like make us want the soy over the paraffin. I don't know that it was a conspiracy, but I would not be surprised if it wasn't intentional, because the paraffin just has a much higher potential for strength and throw. It doesn't mean that every paraffin candle is going to have good strength and throw, and you can't just pour paraffin in a jar and expect it to like perform like a dream, you know? You've obviously got to do other things with it. But paraffin has the potential to punch much harder and much deeper than soy does. And considering that they were investing so much in their soy, I can understand, and I've said this for Yankee too, wanting to narrow the performance disparity between the two of them. When you have two in the same catalog, 2 formulas in the same catalog, 2 formulas on the same, you know, floor in terms of a retail space, what you don't want is like an entire fleet completely outperforming the other fleet in terms of strength and throw. You just don't want that, because then you've got the strong candles and the weak candles, and especially when you're trying to promote the soy for a lot of different other reasons, like you just don't want that obvious of a disparity. Yeah. So I do think that for at least a year, if not a year and a half at Kringle, I was noticing that these country paraffins were starting to get weaker and weaker. This was definitely in that category of a paraffin that just was underperforming for a paraffin. That said, I have to be honest, it still outperforms many of the soy candles and many of the 3-wick soy candles that have come down the pipe in the last like year or two. So I didn't bother with it so much in the open concept. I don't think it would have done particularly well. In the back master bathroom, master bedroom, it was consistently a 6.5 to a 7. Nothing to write home about, but given that it was kind of a heavy perfume conceptual, 6.5 and 7 felt good. If it was more than that, I think it would have been too overwhelming and not in a good way. So 6.5, 7, a little shy for a paraffin, but given the scent profile was pretty much where it needed to be. Man, one of the things that I appreciate about paraffin so much, and I just want to express it, is what I loved is consistency from top to bottom. Top to bottom. And you do not see this for the most part in the soy formula. The soy formula, you may have a 4 today, you may have a 6 tomorrow, you may even have a 7 the day after that, and then you're gonna drop back down to a 4.5. You just never know when you light that soy candle up what you're gonna get. And that's from top to bottom. I noticed too that significantly the last third of the soy candles tend to be very, very weak. There are exceptions. And in fact, I do have a 3-wick soy candle from Kringle that I'm going to talk about hopefully in the next week or so that was a major exception. So I don't want to make it sound like every soy candle is this way, but frankly, enough of them to generalize. There is erratic strength and throw and generally much weaker and more superficial strength and throw in the 100% soy. Man, when you go back to even an underperforming paraffin formula and just the top to bottom consistency, oh, it makes you so happy. Here's the trade-off though. It's a little bit of soot. Do you see that? You see that soot? Yeah, there's a little bit of that. That being said, I burned this baby all the way down to the wick clips. Most of the sooting was done, of course, in that last third where the candle gets extremely hot. And for me personally, and I did not wipe this candle, I'll take this. I think that Kringle's paraffin formula was very, very clean for a paraffin. Very happy with the way that that performed. And if the soot bothers you, just kind of wipe it off every time or every other time. Keep that down aesthetically. Obviously, it's not gonna necessarily do away with the soot that's in your house, but I found it to be minimal for the Kringle. And right now, we just have kind of a trade-off between strength and throw or a cleaner burn. And I personally want strength and throw and a deepness and a consistency of fragrance. Because for me, fragrance is king. It really is. And I'm gonna keep beating this drum. I know that I increasingly sound like a cranky old lady who will go to my grave complaining about something that will never come back. But I really appreciated that about the paraffins. I still do appreciate about it. And I especially appreciated the Kringle paraffins. I think they had one of the best paraffin formulas, like of all the companies, even the 100%. And they did not spend enough time really trying to formulate a soy paraffin blend. The first one that they came up with that they put on the market was very bad. It was worse than the regular 100% paraffin. But I have full confidence in Kringle as a company. They 100% could have come up with a better blend, and they should have. Most other candle companies have a soy blend. Major companies, Homeworks, Goose Creek, Bath & Body Works, Yankee Candle. There are no major candle companies right now that are 100% soy, and you have to ask yourself the question, why is that? The reason that it is because 100% soy just does not perform adequately, consistently. It's as simple as that. So I appreciate the paraffin, and that is the one aspect of this candle that I appreciated the most and kind of made my heart sad, a little bit nostalgic. That said, the fragrance was not as good as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like one of my brilliant new, like top tier, top 5 Kringle candles. And then I burned it and it kind of wasn't. So there's that. But it's happened several times for Bath & Body Works for this year too, with similar kind of candles that seemed like they were mostly botanical, fresh, and authentic, and then ended up being versions of a perfume conceptual that lost all of its brilliance in the burning. So a lot of this just has to do with kind of the profile and the vision of a botanical candle with a little bit of a perfume element. Unfortunately, often those authentic botanical notes just sink into the perfume and kind of get drowned and washed out. That's what happened with this one. That said, it was kind of an unexpected perfume conceptual with the spruce and the green notes. And like I said, if you are doing an order, think about picking up one of those wax melts. You know, they're just wax melts, right? Not a huge or major investment either in terms of time or money. So why not, right? Better than a lot of the spring conceptuals we've seen over the last couple years. So there's that. All right, that's what I've got for you. Christmas in July, not a rousing success, but not like an abject failure either. So there you go. Kringle. I'll catch you guys in the next one.